welcome into another edition of OnIowa Live here at the Pickle Palace. Just some housekeeping things to kind of get to. This is our last show before we break for the holidays, so we will be seeing you guys once again in 2026. So this is our last one for the year. So let's make it a good one, right? I've got Scott Dochterman from The Athletic joining me, as well as Jack Lito from our own KCRG TV9 Sports Department. Let's just get straight into both things because I'm thinking warmer thoughts right now because it's really, really cold, and it was really cold this weekend. Hawkeyes, they are headed to Tampa for the ReliaQuist Bowl to face Vanderbilt. Hawkeyes, they will head out Christmas Day. First practice will be Friday then in Tampa. I'm sure they are going to be looking forward to these warmer temps as well. But as we kind of look up this matchup, Iowa-Vanderbilt, and just preview it, I mean, you kind of got this explosive offense versus this really gritty defense. It's kind of a best of both worlds sort of deal. What do you like about this matchup? Why don't we start with you, Scott?
There are a lot of things, but I think when we want to go, if we want to boil it down to numbers, there's two things that really stand out. One is Vanderbilt's #1 in the country in average yards per play. Okay. So you've got a really prolific offense capable of doing things on both run and pass. And then you look on the flip side, Iowa's #9 in yards per play allowed. So you've got a really good defense against an outstanding offense colliding. And then, of course, you've got Diego Pavia at quarterback, which I'm sure there won't be any run-ins in Tampa among Pavia's posse and Iowa fans. I think that might be something to watch out for.
Yeah, Jack, I mean, what do you like about this one?
I'm excited for the bowl game because both of these teams have good units, great units, as you mentioned, defense versus offense. I remember a few weeks ago we were thinking, who does Iowa want to play in the bowl game? As fans, who would want to see? I think this is a home run in terms of an opponent. You have a star quarterback on one side, a good team with not a lot of, if any, opt-outs. And then for Iowa, I'm impressed that it looks like they're not going to have any opt-outs. I think they're generally a little bit fortuitous that they have NFL players, but they don't exactly have anyone who needs to drop out to focus on their 40-yard dash times. So I hopefully we're going to get full-strength teams on either side, a couple of great coaches. There's a reason this is a bowl game that a lot of folks are looking forward to.
Absolutely. And then, of course, I mean, Iowa's strong defense. I think that's what everyone's kind of looking at when it comes to the Hawkeyes specifically. You know, how can they slow down this Diego Pavia? Obviously a Heisman finalist. A lot of guys are going to be looking, or probably when you're scouting Iowa, you're looking at maybe a Lutmer, you know, just what he's done this season. Any other guys stand out, maybe defensive side, as you're looking at Iowa, I can think of another one too, that, Vanderbilt's going to be looking for.
I would say if you're looking at defense, I think the safeties. I really want to see Xavier Wampa. You know, his first start came in the Music City Bowl, and he had a pick six. So it was in Tennessee. Now he's facing a team from Tennessee in his final game, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be really impactful in stopping kind of the train that is Diego Pavia, because he's a run pass guy. He's thrown for 3,200 yards. He's run for 800. He's the kind of guy that if he was on your team, you'd absolutely love him, and then everybody else hates his guts. So I think, and we'll find out. We've already seen this weekend why that's the case.
Absolutely. Anyone that you in particular, Jack?
For the Iowa defense, we're looking at like draft stock guys. I don't know how much the draft evaluators look into bowl games, but Aaron Graves, I thought at the beginning of the year had NFL potential, and look, he lived up to it. He was a great player, but I'm just not sure he's getting into the first few rounds unless he has a fantastic game. Scott, you know more about the draft evaluators than I do, but I think that's an NFL guy, and I want to see what he can do against an SEC offensive line.
You bet. Let's talk about this Pavia guy and the extracurriculars as well. We'll get to that. But first off, let's start with the fact that he had a big weekend, obviously. He finished his second in the Heisman Trophy race in voting, and you just mentioned it too. Over 3,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and obviously leading Vanderbilt to its first 10-win season in program history. Second consecutive bowl game appearance as well. I mean, this is the guy that I was obviously circling of how can we stop him? What does he do so well that's going to provide challenges for the Hawkeyes?
he's the ultimate dual threat quarterback.
Yes.
You know, he's only about 5'10", you know, but he's built like a wrestler, and he's got a lot of swagger to him and which kind of everybody feeds off of. You know, he's the leading rusher on the team with 826 rushing yards as a quarterback, built like him. That's different. And he's just, they just all follow him so well. But he's got a really live arm, and it's kind of an explosive live arm where he can go anywhere he wants, but he's also able to pull the ball down and run on schedule, off schedule. It's a very difficult player to defend against, as we've seen now with, Tennessee gave up 45 against Vanderbilt. Kentucky gave up 45. He scores on everybody. So I think this is going to be a real challenge, but I think it's a good thing that Phil Parker has a month to prepare for him, because they've done a good job in the past for players like him.
Yeah.
Put simply, Diego Pavia is the grittiest quarterback in the country, and you know that by watching him on film with the way he leans down his head and runs the ball, similar to another guy we know, Mark Gronowski. And we're talking about big picture grittiness. I mean, this is a guy that started at New Mexico Military Academy Junior College. He won the Junior College National Championship in that Division I, actually against Iowa Western and freshman Caden Weechin. And he worked his way up through New Mexico, through Vanderbilt. And last year, he was a good story, a fun story, inconsistent player. This year, he was a great story, and had it not been for Fernando Mendoza and Indiana's the best story in college football, we could be talking about Diego Pavia as the Heisman winner. I mean, if so facto, he came in second in the voting. And when you talk about superstars, I think superstar can mean villain, and Pavia's kind of turned himself into that, and I don't think that's a terrible thing for our sports.
No, I mean, there is a bit of bromance brewing right now between Indiana fans and Iowa fans over this. I don't know if anybody's seen it on social media. Well, he used some swear language to describe Indiana and the voters. You know, I actually voted for him second for the Heisman. I voted Fernando Mendoza won. But a lot of Indiana fans are like, Iowa, take care of this guy for us. And,
there you go.
And it's... both of them were the very first expansion schools in college sports history, and in December 1st, 1899 together. So I guess they're going to go in together on this thing.
Did you take his message personally?
Did I? No.
Okay.
No.
Well, and then it kind of lingered too. You know, he's a 23-year-old. He's going out after the Heisman ceremony and everything. It lingers into expletive Indiana and everything out at the club. Listen, he's 23 years old. He was just up for a finalist for the Heisman. Go be 23 and go to a club. But at the same time, when you look at just the kind of it's just jealous, in my opinion. It's a little bit of jealousy coming out of him that, he wasn't the guy. But I think, too, it goes along with his story. He had to work really hard, climb to where he's at now. But I do think he's kind of hated a little bit. And I can't see someone like that playing for a Kirk Ferentz.
Oh, no, I can't see that. I think, as you were mentioning, Pavia did apologize, and he is allowed to apologize.
Scott has thoughts.
Scott has thoughts. So let's assume it was him and maybe a PR person behind the keyboard apologizing. He's a 23-year-old, and yes, Chelsie, as you mentioned, he's allowed to go out. He's allowed to be emotional, but you can't use the he's just a kid excuse. Maybe at 22, 23 years old, that would have worked a decade or a decade and a half ago, but he's being paid like a professional for all intents and purposes. He is a professional athlete, and you can't just say he's being a kid. He's a professional athlete, and we reserve the right to accept or not accept his apology, but you've got to do better than that if you want to play in college football, if you want to play in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about somebody that, he just finished second for the most prestigious trophy in the country. Yeah. Your name is going to be associated with that forever. You didn't win, but you're a runner-up. There are a lot of great players who are runners-up. Vince Young comes to mind 20 years ago. And I think that in this situation, what he did on Instagram, with his story, blank the voters. I mean, we all voted for him. We all thought he was great.
Yeah.
I mean, in my organization, it was split almost 50-50. And I thought that was really tasteless. And you've got to be better than that. I mean, NFL teams are watching you. I mean, they're like Santa Claus this time of year. So, you know, and they're going to attract you to him. So I thought, you know, and that's just another misstep in his whole career. He's been doing this forever. And a lot of people think that's just part of who he is, but you got to be better than that. I can only imagine, though, that for Iowa, you know, now you've kind of trying to paint yourself as the victim. I think for Iowa, you're looking at him like, no, you're a target. And, and they're going to be gunning for you.
And there's a difference between wanting to, feel disrespected for the sake of playing better yourself. We saw that with Caitlin Clark. She's an emotional person. But there's a fine line between that and just straight up being disrespectful to other people. And that's what Pavia did there.
Yeah, you bet. Well, let's move back to the good guys. Those are the Hawkeyes. Logan Jones, obviously, the recipient of the Remington Award over the Friday. Yeah, actually, goes to the nation's most outstanding center. Last Hawkeye to get it was obviously Tyler Linderbaum, Austin Blythe, Bruce Nelson, also finalist as well. Iowa, though, is one of 4 schools to have multiple honorees, and I think that just speaks to a lot about the culture and just the offensive line in general. But I think Jones' story, too, is very unique because he obviously made the switch, and it worked out, right?
Yeah, second straight center to do this. An in-state guy, started off on the defensive side. Kirk Ferentz makes the recommendation to move over to offense, and here you are. You have the last two centers are now Remington winners, and I think it shows just what a tremendous athlete he is to be able to do that first and foremost. And he's, one of the strongest players to ever play at the University of Iowa, but he's also a smart man. He has great technique and he's really finishes. I don't know that people notice that, but he finishes 10, 15 yards down the field and he'll put you on your back and keep you there. And I think just as much of a testament to him is his teammate, Bo Stevens. Really, has experienced a lot of tough knee injuries. He was out for almost an entire season, and here he is today for the Associated Press, was a first-team All-American, and it just really shows the respect that Iowa's offensive line has as the finals for the Joe Moore Award. It is as good as there is in this country.
For sure. And I want to move on to some questions, too, before we wrap up football. Let's start with this one. Are you surprised that Caden Weegan was left off of the AP first-team All-American? Thoughts on that?
The only thing is these All-American teams differ.
Yes.
And I wish they were more universal. I do wish that they have a return specialist. And I can tell you this, because I'm an FWAA voter. I do the Big Ten, and we do have a return specialist. So it hasn't come out yet, but he's on it first team. But the athletic, we do not. We have an all-purpose category, and he was second team on the athletic. And oddly enough, I don't vote on that one. Yeah. So I wish everybody was universal because he would certainly be first team return specialist.
You bet. Jack, we'll have you take this next one. It says, with bowl prep starting, how much self-scouting do you think that Kirk and his staff do going into the bowl game?
I think it's important that you get 15 more practices so you can see some of the backups from this year who are going to be starters next year. The biggest question is, of course, going to be at quarterback. You have Jeremy Hecklinski, who kind of made himself the number 2 guy. And Hank Brown, I mean, he looks like a quarterback. He just isn't really as gritty as Hecklinski. He can't run the ball as well as Hecklinski. And there are questions that we just need to answer. Speaking of backups, you have backups on the defensive end that I think if they perform well in the bowl game, it could translate into the next year. You mentioned Xavier Nwampa. I'm going into another school here, but Bo Freeler in the Cheez-It Bowl played very, very well for Iowa State back in 2021. He turned into a fantastic player for the Cyclones. I think we're looking at some guys, you may not know their name, but perhaps a Jalen Watson or a Rashad Godfrey could have their kind of breakout game this year, have it translate into next year.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Well, that's why I'm asking. Is that what we're doing, this break? All right. I think everyone needs to be told that. Everyone scooch. Yes, she is. Joanna, can we get you up here? All right, our desk just got a little bit fuller. On one note, though, I do want to go back to our pick'ems that we did in football season. Jack and I tied, unfortunately. So now we're going to do a playoff bracket, essentially. And so we're going to post those online, our picks. You guys can comment who you think's going to win. We'll go from there. We'll post it on the 9.2 Facebook page. Anyway, Joanna Mance joins us now because we're going to talk a little hoops. Let's start with the women because they played first. Iowa State wins the Cy-Hawk series 74-69. It is the Hawkeyes' first loss on the season. It snaps Iowa's win streak in this series at 3. Chit-Chat Wright, though, led with 21 points. Hannah still 10 points, 15 rebounds. Holy cow. Taylor McCabe, 11 points. Kylie Feuerbach, 10. I mean, when you look at that box score, it's very balanced. However, Audie Crooks, 30 points, 10 rebounds. Addie Brown, 20 points, 12 rebounds. Atmosphere was incredible. Game was as expected. Just takeaways from this one as you look at both teams and where they're at so early in the season. You want to start, Scott, or do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think Audie Crooks has taken her game to another level.
For sure.
It's, she's as dangerous as any player in the country. And, she's got that finesse type game that really works well, but she's also a physical body. And it's really, I think it's been a challenge for officials to figure out how to call her or not call her in different plays. But I think you saw a really strong effort from both teams, but ultimately, Addie Brown and Audie Crooks were just too much for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, a little bit. Jack, what'd you like from the Cyclones? You were a fan, right?
I did sit as a fan, not a Cyclone or a Hawkeye fan. I did go to the game as a fan. Audie Crooks was the first name I wrote down. She's an All-American, and the Hawks just couldn't really defend her. Ava Hayden and Hannah Stolke each of them picked up one foul in the first quarter, and then it kind of spiraled downward from there. What Crooks does so well, as you mentioned, is she has the finesse game. You're going to hear a lot of national commentators talk about her power and her size and how good she is underneath the basket. But the thing that takes her from maybe a third-team All-American into possibly a second or a first-team All-American is the way she can step back and take that 6, 7, 8 foot jump.
Yeah.
I did it, dang it. 8 foot jumper, swish it, and it's just like, it's almost automatic. You give the Hawkeyes credit for, doing their best defending her. I think a lot of their role players played really well, but Iowa State just proved they were just a little bit of a better team, especially on their home court.
You bet. Joanna, you had better seats. You were behind the bench this year. I saw, right?
No nosebleeds this year. Yeah, we were behind the bench. It was a good atmosphere. I think it's always exciting when you're in an in-state game like that, and people in the nation don't realize the size of the state population of Iowa, and we just draw such large crowds for women, and so it was really great to be there. I am biased because my daughter's on the team. I think there was a lot of missed calls, and kind of like Scott was saying, they're still trying to figure it out. When a player crashes into you, just because they go like this doesn't mean it wasn't a foul. And, we watched that happen a couple times. And, but I agree with the 6 foot and on shots that Audie can. She's kind of got this nice fadeaway that goes. I think Addie Brown was really impressive to me in this game, just because she can kind of do it all for them, and so she was impressive for me. You know, Jada Williams played well, and you know, we just didn't have shots that fell when we needed to. And you know, when 2 of your starting post players foul out, that's always kind of hard.
Yes, very difficult night for, I mean, Hannah as well. I mean, more difficult a little bit for Ava, I would say, too, down low. She kind of just didn't have a chance to get going, unfortunately. Let's just jump to the men really quick, too, because obviously we're just going to do the Cy-Hawk series. The men also win that one. Close one, though. 66-62. Iowa State outscores Iowa 41-29 in the second half. That's when they went on that 16-0 run to start the second half. Joshua Jefferson, 24 points. But I have to say, Iowa impressed me because their start was just great. To be honest, it frustrated Iowa State, made them make adjustments. Obviously, there you can see TJ Otzelberger. He was frustrated and fired up. But that is great, especially in these environments. Iowa's already gone to Michigan State. They've been tested there. Obviously, Ames was another test, too. What were your takeaways of this one?
I guess I would say that, number one, the way that they play defense is really impactful, and that's what kept them in this game, because in years past we've seen it. I mean, the last 2 times they went to Ames, they lost by a combined total of 45 points. That's because they couldn't play any defense against Iowa State. I think this situation, they've been playing much better defense. I think they still have some work to do on offense to figure out. I mean, I think Alvaro Fragares, you know, is a good player, but man, I want to see more from him. I think he has more to give. I just don't know that this offense is quite clicking yet, and it's taking time, but I think the guts of a really good team is there, and you've got 2 of your biggest and most difficult environments out of the way. And then this one could have gone either way. Other than that, as you mentioned, 16-0 right off the gate out of the second half. That was really difficult to overcome.
Yeah, I was impressed. From an Iowa perspective, I was impressed with they came off the bus more ready than the Cyclones, punched them in the mouth, and then TJ and the Cyclones punched them right back. I think a lot of Iowa teams of past might have whimpered, walked out of Hilton with their tail between the legs. But no, the Iowa team we saw punched right back. And I think Bennett Sturtz, his game left something to be desired. 4 assists, 3 turnovers. He had 3 made threes. Those are all such impressive plays. They were all step backs. However, he's got to do more to elevate his role players, who I think Howard, Banks, Koch, those role players were very impressive to me.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Joanna? Did you catch the men's game, or you basketballed out by that point?
Nope.
That is totally fine. I do want to mention, though, that Iowa State also introduced their new football head coach, Jimmy Rogers, which fired up people on both sides, we'll just say. Because of his choice of words, you know, he also used an expletive. I just want to sit there and say he was not trying to win over Hawkeye fans there. And at this point, the Cyclones were down by double digits, so he's trying to get that Hilton crowd just fired up. I think we also have to remember, too, like, he's in his 30s. He's a young dude, and there's just like a different kind of era, you know, and a different kind of swagger that these young guys kind of bring, and I think that you saw it. And so I thought it was funny. It was great. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, but hey, he's coming in there and he's saying this is who I am, and he's not hiding it.
You know, I don't think everybody needs to clutch their pearls on this one and say, oh, that's so terrible, because 20 years ago they were laughing when Matt Roth said the same thing at the Capital One Bowl. But I think in some ways, it's a different thing. It's a coach. But I will give him a pass, and I certainly will give Iowa State a pass for this, because you lose your coach, and everybody's heart is with that coach. This isn't just, get out of here, Steve Prohm. This is, Matt Campbell, the best coach they've ever had in any sport. So when he leaves, part of them left too. Yeah. But he gave it right back. Here's your red meat, and devour. And I think fans went, all right, and they need that, because their team is going to get destroyed in the portal. But I think that brings something to them, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, quick thoughts, Jack?
That was a great point. I think with the Jimmy you-know-what-ing Rodgers moment he had there on the court. I don't want to say it's great because I don't encourage that kind of stuff, but his job up there on the court was not to coach football.
Yeah.
It wasn't to pander to Iowa fans or some of the kid Iowa State fans in the crowd. His job was to stand there and fire up the team, fire up the crowd, and win over the hearts of the Iowa State fans, and I think he did exactly that.
Yeah, you bet. All right, we are going to look ahead when we come back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back into On Iowa Live. Well, the good news is that the Hawkeyes had a bounce back. We'll start with the women. They beat Linwood 102-68. Hannah Stolke went off 31 points, 6 rebounds. Ava Hyde and Layla Hayes also in double figures. But it seemed like that's what Iowa needed. Hannah, though, had a really great game. Is that what you expected kind of from her? Did she say anything after Iowa State?
She didn't. I don't remember her saying much after Iowa State. You know, she went down in the Baylor game with a pretty tough sprained ankle, and so she's slowly been coming back. You know, it would sideline a lot of players for a couple of weeks, and she just continued to play. And then she got a fingernail ripped off during practice on her shooting hand, and then at Iowa State jammed her thumb on her shooting hand. So I really wasn't expecting a lot in the Lindenwood game. I was just expecting, you know, she kind of made a comment about, oh, but my hand, and I said, you have a left hand? Like, this is not a difficult thing. Just shoot with your opposite hand. But it was really great to see. It was kind of that fiery basketball player that we've seen before, whereas I think early on in this season, you know, again, it's a new offense. She's in a new position that she's trying to learn. And you're starting to see sparks from her and Ava that they're starting to figure out. I had someone today say, why do they run that person on the ball side and create that ball side triangle in the corner? I said, because that high post comes, they can seal their defender out and then they can easily score. And then he was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense, because how are you going to sag off of these players, right? We've got three-point shooters. Anyways, so it's really good to see that starting to click. And, you know, Hannah and Ava, I think they both had 3 assists, probably back and forth to each other. And so that's going to be a continued thing to be fun to watch as the season goes, the two of them figuring out to play on each other. But yeah, it was a good game. It was fun to see, you know, it was fun to see Hannah do what I know that she can do.
You bet. And we had a question for you as well. How great was it to see your sister, Liz, sing the national anthem, and did Hannah know about it before?
Yeah, Hannah did not know about it before.
Okay.
Liz had contacted them early in the season, and they had all the spots filled. And then they called her a week and a half ago and said someone had to back out of the 13th, and so she took it. And just so happens, serendipitously, it was the anniversary of my father's passing. So my siblings were able to be there with my mom, and then for Hannah to see Liz, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And my sister said, "I'm singing." And so that was really neat. They got to share a hug before the game, and there were a couple of Hannah's shots that kind of seemed off, but yet they jumped up over the hoop and went in, and I just felt like it was my dad, Bumpa, he was known to her as Bumpa, was just kind of there to give her that little lift. So that was it was very emotional for the whole Stolke clan.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that too. Well, Iowa's schedule does not get any easier from here. Up next, top-ranked UConn. Yeah.
Let's go.
In Brooklyn. But that's going to be a fun one out there in Brooklyn. I mean, but at the same time, what Gino's squads can do is just amazing. And obviously, Sarah Strong is going to be a very pronounced presence in the post, if you will. Any thoughts about this one and what Iowa is going to have their hands filled when it comes to this UConn?
Oh, they've got their hands full.
Oh,
No question about it. But, this is a good litmus test for them. I mean, going to Ames was, of course, you measured up. It's, when you look at the Iowa State series, if it had probably played 10 games, you'd be a 5-5 series, depending on home court. This is the number one team in the country, the defending national champion. And you've got a lot you want to prove about yourself there. Now, this is also a game where Iowa women's basketball makes money. And that shows you the new era of women's basketball that they make. I think it's $150,000 to fly there, which most of the time you pay to play in these types of games. So it does show you the kind of respect Iowa women get for this. But I think you will just want to measure up, see how you do, because you got a long Big Ten season ahead.
Yeah, I only had 2 words, and you stole them both. Sarah Strong. She could be a top 5 or number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. Had a Hannah Stolke, Ava Hayden match up with her. And I'm also curious from a non-basketball perspective of the fan base. It's Brooklyn. The UConn fan base for the men and women travel really, really well, but Iowa has kind of become a national brand. So I'm curious how many people from that Northeast area picked up women's basketball and want to come to see Iowa in person. I'm curious about that.
Joanna, you're going, right?
Sure am. I'm flying on Friday with my little sister. So, yes, we're very excited. I'm also excited for the Sarah Strong. I would assume Hannah's going to have her as a matchup. So I'm looking forward to that. I think Kylie will give AZ everything that she wants and then some. And so it should be good. I know Sarah Williams transferred from Wisconsin over there, and I just saw some chatter online that people are kind of concerned that her numbers aren't what they were. Well, yeah, because you transferred from a nobody school to now a school of 5 stars. Sorry, Wisconsin fans. But her numbers are going to be different because she's playing with a lot of people. But I think Ava could take her, and I don't think she could take Ava. So it should be interesting how it all shakes out. And I know that there's several Hawkeye fans going to New York. So I'm looking forward to the sights and sounds of the holidays in New York.
Absolutely.
Coming home with a Hawkeye win.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, we'll have more after this.
Welcome back. We're joined by Kira from Elite Fitness. Kira, besides memberships, what are some additional services that are provided at your facilities?
Right, so we offer nutrition services, resting metabolic rate testing, in-body body fat percentage testing, and classes, which include senior classes.
Can you give me a few more details on what those might include?
Sure, so
Welcome back. We're joined by Kira from Elite Fitness. Kira, besides memberships, what are some additional services that are provided at your facilities?
Right, so we offer nutrition services, resting metabolic rate testing, in-body body fat percentage testing, and classes, which include senior classes.
Can you give me a few more details on what those might include?
Sure, so nutrition coaching, you'll meet with a certified nutrition coach to kind of go over your goals. You'll then work together to create a plan to work towards those. The resting metabolic rate testing measures your basic metabolism, which again is good information to have. Tells you how many calories you might need as you work towards your goals. The in-body body fat percentage test is a non-invasive way to figure out what your body fat percentage is, your muscle mass, and your total body water content. And then the senior classes are offered at all locations, and the best part is a lot of them are covered under insurance, like Silver Sneakers.
That is great. And how can someone schedule these training options?
So they can go to our website at elitefitnessiowa.com.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back into On Iowa Live. Let's talk Iowa men now. They got a bounce back win, I should say, against Western Michigan, and then they got Bucknell in Des Moines Saturday, UMass Lowell back into Big Ten play. So these games right now are kind of just finding a cohesion, I think, amongst the team, learning each other, learning what they need to work on before it really ramps up once again. But when you look at this team, what's still missing? I know we kind of touched a little bit on the offensive side, but anything else that you can think of?
You know, I think it's kind of small
Okay.
with them. Because I don't know what their ceiling is yet. We'll kind of know that as they go through the season. What I like is that they've been beaten twice on the road in very tough environments, and they bounce back. You know, you lose at Michigan State, everybody does. You you play Maryland at home with a new coach, and you play well. I mean, but Maryland had a good new coach too. Then same thing, you lose a tough one at Iowa State. You compete, come home, and then you have a 50-point lead against Western Michigan. So I like the fact that this team is figuring out things. I wonder right now, a good point by Jack earlier on Bennett Sturts is he needed to take more charge in the Iowa State game. You needed to see him be the leader on the floor, and at times he was kind of absent. I want to see more of that, and I want to see the players be able to fall in line around him.
Yeah, I was going to say the question we're not going to have an answer for a few weeks because I was not going to be in very close games. But their role players have played really well. The question is, do they have a killer in the final minutes of a close Big Ten game? And we all think that's going to be Bennett Sturts. And he's made some incredible shots and he's made some great passes. But I'm just not necessarily sure we've seen that, or not necessarily. We definitely haven't seen that. I'm not necessarily sure we're going to get to see that for a little bit. But I think Bennett Sturts has the skill set. I mean, we're talking about him like he's a first-round NBA draft pick. He steps back and makes some incredible shots. But I think, like you said, Scott, there are times where he plays a little bit too passively, and it's not a bad thing to play passively, to play pass first, but there are times where Sturts is just going to have to take over for Iowa.
Yeah, along those lines, one thing I noticed was against Iowa State, he doesn't leave the floor, and you wonder, is he trying to preserve energy at some point, because these are different levels of basketball than playing Western Michigan. And so I was glad he only played 24 minutes to allow people else to get on the floor. But sometimes you wonder, do you need to spell him? Because when you're playing high-level competition, game in and game out, which they will get to in January, you might want to consider that, maybe get him a breather before the under 12 or before the under 8 in both halves. To me, that might be just a thought, but it's something to consider.
You bet. Another thing, though, that I do like, though, is the contributors. It could be anyone, that kind of goes off, and I think that's something that's maybe newer to the Iowa team. Jack, do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I just noticed, especially in the Cyhawk game, that the role players were playing really well. Tavion Banks and Cam Mania are both a little bit short to be a 4 or 5. They definitely have the size, the width, the strength, but I think they play a lot taller. And on the opposite end, you have a guy like Isaiah Howard, who he's a tweener. He's a little bit thin to be a Division I Big Ten guy coming over from Drake, but I think he played a lot. He played really well. He made a lot of winning plays against Iowa State. I think in general, if you want to talk about the thing that stands out most for Iowa, is the defense and the way how hard they play, even up 20, 25, 30. They could have sat on cruise control for most of the second quarter and for all of the second half, but they didn't. They played extremely hard on both ends of the ball. And here are the highlights from Maryland. It's same thing here. This is an Iowa team that, in terms of defensive rankings on KenPom, the advanced statistics, that's number 22. And come on, you don't have to have me tell you they never got that high, at least in recent memory, in the Fran McCaffrey era.
No.
You bet. Well, thank you both for joining me this week. I appreciate it. When we come back, we are going to have Cedar Rapids Prairie girls basketball head coach Bruce Stahl join us. All right, welcome back into On Iowa Live. We are joined by Cedar Rapids Prairie girls basketball head coach Bruce Stahl. Hawks 3-1 to start the season. This is kind of where you thought the team would be?
I wasn't really sure where we'd be right now. I'm kind of a take it one game at a time type of coach, and I know that the ceiling is very high for our team, even though we have a lot of returners from last year. As far as points and rebounds, but we have a lot of kids that were younger that played in JV that we need to break in with the veterans. And then we had a couple girls that came out that had played for a while. So it's just kind of a work in progress of getting everybody to gel and play together and everybody know their roles and try to be consistent every night in what we do. There's things that we, need to work on and we address that and we just move on. So, I think that 3-1 is pretty respectable. We play a tough schedule, extremely tough. We've played PV and Mount Vernon, Xavier, Linn-Mar's. That rivalry game is not easy. So, and we did that last year as well. We play tough competition, and I think we'll be better for it. I think by the end of the season we want to be gelling, and I think we will, because I think we have the type of players and type of people and type of program that we will.
Well. Also, there's not many teams as a first-year head coach that can take them to state appearance. Obviously, a quarterfinal appearance last year, but you guys had so much youth on that team from a season ago, and now you, like you said, you're returning a lot. But what have you seen, maybe growth-wise, from that team of who went through a very, very challenging schedule from last year?
The growth of last year's team,
to
this year's team. Yeah, like I said, I think we have two seniors, Emily Larson and Brynley Haydenfeld. I think it starts with them and their leadership and senior leadership. They're the captains. It's I always say it's their team, and they're the ones that are going to step it up and help the other kids produce and put them on the floor where they need to be. And I think they've done that, and I think they'll continue to do that. And then we need kids to step up that have played lesser roles. Kiana Worley is back at point guard spot. She, I think she's 5'4", 5'3", but she plays like she's 6 foot around the rim. So I think those three, and then just, that we just need experience. We just need game experience. That we need to be in those situations, those high pressure situations, and how are we going to react. And I like the way we bounce back coming off Xavier. We played. We started out 2-0. I think we were feeling pretty good about ourselves, and then we had that letdown against Xavier. And that humbles you pretty fast, and that also helps you. It's something that we're going to use as something to get better. And then I thought, putting up 80-something points against Linmar was pretty good. So.
Now, you've been doing this for a while, over 3 decades coaching, but obviously you kind of took a step going up to class, a big class from Dyke New Hartford. What was maybe just kind of the biggest challenge for you, or did it feel similar? Did it feel the same?
I think it's all the same thing as far as the moving parts of basketball and all that. I think just like I said this last year too, there's just probably more shooters on the floor. In a 5A than a 2A, and so there's more in the film part of it for me, watching every player and their tendencies and what just a lot more scouting.
Yeah. Are you enjoying it at this level?
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm playing basketball and doing what I love doing. I can't think of anything else I would want to do. Being a person that's competitive and hanging around. The young kids are going to keep you young, right?
Oh yeah.
They're going to keep you young or keep you old, one of the two. So I think most nights they keep me young, and so it's been fun.
Yeah, you bet. Well, we are going to have the entire team join us on stage when we come back. All right, welcome back into OnIowa Live. I'm joined by the Cedar Rapids Prairie girls basketball team. Let's just get an introduction of who's here right now. Let's start with you on the mic. Who are you?
I'm Emily Larson.
Beautiful. And who has a mic back here?
Brindley Haydenfeld.
Awesome. You want to pass it down so everyone can say hello?
I'm Kiana Worley.
Awesome.
I'm Melina DeVille. I'm Claire Meskimen. I'm Kennedy Minshaw. I'm Reese Gert. I'm Kylie Wachtel. I'm Kennedy Johnson.
Awesome.
I'm Piper Johnson. I'm Bracken Lechtenberg.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for being here. I heard we just had practice. We just wrapped it up. How did practice go?
Me?
Go ahead.
It was a good practice. We had walkthrough. We play tomorrow, so
Yeah.
it was a lighter practice, but it was good. Yeah.
You bet. 3-1 to start the season. Is this kind of where we expected the group to be?
We definitely have like high expectations going into the season, but like Coach said before, we're taking it one game at a time. Yes, we all like to win, but we just want to get better as the season goes.
You bet. How is maybe your schedule, even looking at it, even looking at last year, how has it helped you guys throughout the season?
I think it's definitely like pushed us. We definitely do have a hard schedule, so looking at games forward, like we know we have to like what we need to do in practice to lock in before each game, and I think that helps us a lot.
You bet. And we just did a feature about 3 of you, Kiana, Brenly, and Emily. You guys have grown up together for a while playing basketball. How has that bond continued to grow throughout the season, playing together now at the high school level?
I think it continues to grow because, like you said, we've been playing forever. So, like, it just basically, like I said in the video, we just connect on the court. So, like, as it just keeps going, we just grow as a team and as a trio. But I think we just grow together and play together.
Yeah, you bet. What's it like now having some of the younger guns kind of step up this season? What have you been impressed so far about how they've contributed? Anyone?
I mean, definitely it's fun. Like last year, we had our 6, and it was always our 6. But this year, like being with the younger kids, it's fun to like talk to them in the locker room before each game and like before practice and like just getting to know them more. And I think it's really fun, and it helps us on the court too, just getting to know everyone and like playing together. And we're all friends, so it's all helps too. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Is it Western Dubuque tomorrow, Coach?
Yes.
Looking at them, what kind of challenges do they present?
Well, I think at this point right now in our schedule and where we're at, we need to really focus on ourselves and the things that the past few games that we have not done correctly and need to get better at. So I'm just looking forward to getting back on the court. We've only had one game. I don't know, for a long time. Like we played Linmore before that was a week. So we really haven't played that much. So I think we just need to get out. We need to improve our rebounding, and we need to improve our man-to-man defense. And I think we get those 2 things where we're in good shape. I think we'll be in really good shape, a really good team, a really nice team. And that's what we're striving for, by the end of the season, being the best team and being a tough team.
Yeah, because of the weather that's kind of impacted the schedule so far.
The weather has, been that way. And last year was the exact opposite. It was so nice and nothing was ever canceled. And so, it's the weather, and that's been a little trying.
Yeah. Well, Coach says areas that he wants to see this team improve at. And what are those areas? I know it's still early in the season, but what does he say?
Definitely rebounding.
Okay.
We've been hitting that hard in practice. We've been doing a lot of rebounding drills and like communication. So I think that's going to lead more to like our man-to-man defense. We have to communicate more on like screens, like pick and rolls, and then that'll help us know where we are for rebounding.
Yeah, and Coach mentioned it was a big win against Linmar. You guys kind of got out to a fast start. What went so well in that game?
I think like we were kind of like all our shots were all on. We all kind of felt confident. Coming out super strong helped us a lot too. So, I just think our confidence was there that game, and it helped us.
Absolutely. Anything you want to add about the Linmar game?
I definitely think like coming off that loss, and we hadn't played in a whole week of practice. A lot of us were like ready to play. We scrimmage against each other in practice, but nothing beats when we get to actually play together.
Yeah, it's never the same, right? Do you guys do team bonding activities ever? Hang out? Ever?
I think that's like what we do in our locker room before games.
Oh, okay.
Like, we always got the music going. We like to dance before each game, and it gets pretty fun, pretty lit in the locker room.
Who's on this playlist?
I am. So I hook it up to the speaker, but I take any requests.
Any requests?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a go-to artist or song, a must that is part of the pregame routine always?
Just some good songs, I'd say. Yeah.
A genre? Are we listening to hip-hop, country, pop? Where are we at?
I don't like. It's
I'm
like
not that old.
rap type songs. Yeah.
Okay. So the rap. That's what. Any favorite artists? A lot of people say Drake.
Drake's up there. Yeah.
We'll keep it.
Yeah.
We'll keep it at the locker the locker room.
Yeah,
Coach,
in the locker room. Yeah.
You mentioned too that sometimes these girls they have such a great bond that it's hard for you to get a word in.
Yeah.
Kind of explain a little bit about that. Is it just because of their chemistry? They've been playing together so long.
They've been playing together for so long. It's obvious. It's not a knock on them. It's I think of it as funny. I mean, I just like. I'll have a question and I'll be on one end of the gym. Like this is open gym more like.
Yeah.
And then I'll just walk over and just they'll be shooting and they'll have a conversation and then one will talk, then the next one will talk, and the next one will talk, and that other one will answer the question, the next one pose a question, and it's just like I turn back around and start heading back to the other side again. But it's just that it's funny. It's part of their part of the chemistry and it's them and we wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. I mean, girls like to yap, right? Yeah, I mean, goals for this team this season, what are they?
You got it?
One of our goals is conference.
Okay.
Yeah, we were conference champs last year, so obviously to do that again would be fun. And then make it to state. We want to go back to Wells. I think that last year we came up short, but I think it would be to get one step further again this year.
Yeah, what did you guys learn from that state experience down there? Obviously, how hard it takes to even get there in the first place, but then going on that stage, it's different, right?
Yeah, the experience was something I'll never forget too. Like that was the first time we've all been there, so like just even being able to play there in that environment was something I'll never forget. So just wanting to do that again, I think like having that experience already. So if we get there again, like already having that, it'll help us even more in like when we get there.
Yeah, and to see maybe the community and your school, see that this team is, one of those teams that got to the state tournament. Have you felt maybe the impact of it this year? Like eyes are on you guys a little bit more?
Yeah. I think like everyone wants it to happen again too. Like especially at school, people are always like going back to state, and it's like we want to do that too. Like it's one of our goals.
Well, best of luck the rest of the season, all right? And good luck tomorrow, too, as well. We appreciate you guys coming on. We will see you guys again after the new year.